Hi everybody, it's Deborah from PeopleLovingAnimals.com. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching my video today. Today's video is about how to move with pets. Moving can be one of the most stressful experiences of our lives, and not only for people, but it also can be stressful and it can also be downright traumatizing to pets. So in today's video, we're going to go over 6 very specific ways that you can move your pets safely and a little bit less scary and stressful for them and for you. Today's video might be a little bit on the longer side because I've got a lot of information for you today. I've got a lot of tips and I have some additional resources on this topic as well. So I hope that you'll stay with me, and I do hope that you find the video to be helpful. I think that you will. If you do, please go ahead and give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, and go ahead and share this channel with your friends and family who have a dog or a cat. Several times a month, I do videos all about the care and health and training of dogs and cats. Now, if you've not been here before, my name is Deborah. I own this website called PeopleLovingAnimals.com. We're going to use this post on my website called How to Move with a Pet to guide us through today's video. I'm going to give you a link to this post in the description box, and I'm also going to give you the link for anything that we talk about during the video. It'll all be in the description box for you. So let's go ahead and get right into the 6 tips for moving with pets. First of all, get your pet used to a crate or carrier. If you have a cat, obviously they're going to need to be moved in a carrier. If you have a small dog, the safest way to move them is in a carrier. If you have a puppy, they could be in a crate, but you need to get them used to it ahead of time. The ASPCA recommends gradually acclimating your pet to the carrier. You can start out by just getting the carrier out for one thing, leaving it just right in the living room, right in the cat's or the dog's regular living space with the door open. Put some treats inside. Then you start giving them their meals inside the crate, and you keep pushing the food dish further and further into the carrier. And then once they're eating inside, you close the door very casually while they're eating. You see, you do it a little bit at a time. Now, I actually did this with my cat Whiskers when he turned a year old and I had to take him for his 1-year vet visit. This is what I did, and it worked. And by the time I took him to the vet, he was like kind of comfortably just hanging out in his crate. He was eating treats in there and everything. And then even when I got him back from the vet appointment, when I got back, I set him down in the living room in the carrier, and I didn't open the door to the carrier. I just left him in there while I took off my shoes and my coat and put my purse away and stuff, and he didn't panic. And then I opened the door to the carrier, and 5 minutes later, he was like hanging out in the carrier again, even after just coming back from the vet's office. So it worked to get him used to it gradually, and you could do the same for a dog, or obviously a small puppy will cooperate with that pretty easily. So I do have some extra help for you. If you would like some help making a dog or a puppy comfortable in a crate, I'm going to give you a link for a free step-by-step tutorial about crate training puppies from professional dog trainer Doggy Dan. That will be in the description box. And I'm also going to give you a link to one of my articles called Tips for Traveling with Cats. That one contains full step-by-step instructions on how to get your cat used to a crate, whether it's for moving or if you have to travel with the cat, or if you're taking the cat to the vet. It's just obviously very helpful if you don't have to wrestle your cat into the crate every time. I know it's a dark picture, but I put it in here. This is my boy Whiskers comfortably hanging out in his crate. Oh my gosh, it's too funny. It's too funny. The second tip I have for you is to get the moving boxes early. It sounds silly, but most pets, especially cats, they don't like anything new. You know, if you've ever brought something new into the house and you watch the cat like stalk the thing, for a week, they don't like anything new. Some dogs don't like it. Generally, most cats don't. So go ahead and get your moving boxes early. Get them in the house. Put them in the living room. Even let the animals play in the boxes, be around the boxes. It's one less thing for them to be stressed out about as you start packing. At least the boxes themselves are not unfamiliar or new and scary to them. The third tip I have is to pack what your pet needs. Now, Whenever I move, I pack virtually an overnight bag for myself, like as if I'm going to be staying in a hotel. I pack a change of clothes, my pajamas, a toothbrush, medications, shampoo and conditioner, my hair dryer, and coffee. That way, the night of the move, when I'm spending that first night in my new house and when I wake up the next morning, I've got what I need. I don't have to try to find the bathroom box in order to find my toothbrush. I don't have to find the kitchen box to go through and find the coffee maker. You have what you need so that you can be settled kind of right from the beginning. And I suggest that you do the same for your pet prior to the actual move date. Have their stuff packed, their bed, their blanket, a favorite toy, their food and water bowls, treats. If it's a cat, litter box, the litter box and the scoop. If it's a dog, if you have poop bags, a leash, any medications that your animals have. Pack all of these for them so that all of you have your own little overnight bag so that when you get to the new house that night, and again, when you wake up there in the morning, you all have what you need, okay, without having to dig for it. I'm also going to give you in the description box a link to my article called Disaster Preparation for Your Pets. It includes a video, and in that article, there's a section called If You Have to Evacuate, and that section talks more specifically about what you should have packed for your pet. It's just a very useful list, and I'm going to give you a link also for a printable checklist for what you should be packing for your pet. Now, that's for an emergency if you had to evacuate for bad weather or something, but it's still a very helpful list when you think, what would my pet need if we have to leave the house, right? And we're not coming right back. The fourth tip I have is, this is important. They're all important, but this one touches me quite a bit. Keep them safe on moving day. On the moving day, I suggest putting your pets in a quiet, already empty room and keep the door shut. This will keep them from getting scared and running out the door when the movers are, you got the front door propped open, they're moving furniture out. It's going to keep the pet from getting scared and running out. And, don't think you're going to watch them because, if you've ever moved, it's a very stressful situation. If you've got friends over there helping you, it's a very chaotic situation. And that's enormously stressful for your pet, but it's also dangerous for them because you may not be paying attention and they might get out. During the moving day, try to keep your pet's routine as normal as possible. Try to feed them at the same times. Let the dog out for his walk, or take him out for a walk if you can, as close to the normal times that you normally would. And of course, if you've got them in the room for the day, of course, make sure they have food and water in there, and that the cat has, the litter box. Now, I want to tell you a little short story about this. Several years ago, I was helping my sister and her family move, and she had a cat named Greta. Now, this was 100 years ago. I do not have a digital picture of Greta, but so I found this one online that looks a lot like her. She was a beautiful long-haired calico. Well, they were moving, and they had, a bunch of us over to help. So like I say, there was lots of people, lots of chaos, and nothing had been done to prepare the cat for the move. On the moving day, the cat was free in the house, and she was totally freaked out. She was like darting from room to room. She didn't know what to do. And at one point, I remember I was standing in the dining room, and Greta was like against the wall, and you could see her eyes were big as quarters. She was totally freaked out. And my sister's brother-in-law, his name was Sean, he was standing next to me. And I remember he looked at Greta, and then he looked at me, and he said, someone should tell the cat they're moving. It's funny how he said it, but it really is sad. And, no preparations had been done for her, So I just give you that as an example of something that I saw happen. The fifth tip I have for you is settling in. Once everything is moved and you arrive at the new house, you might be tempted to just let your pets run loose and explore the house. Many pets will be overwhelmed by that, and more overwhelmed than you might realize. You're better off starting out by allowing them to get used to just one room. You can set it up just like you set up the room at home for the moving day, with their food dishes, their beds, their litter box. let them be in there and let that be home base for them. This is a safe place. They can handle this room. They know where their stuff is. And then gradually, as they get comfortable, start letting them see other rooms, but don't just let them out of that room. Close some doors, okay, so they don't have access to the living room and dining room and every single bedroom and bed. Just keep the house closed up and just give them access and let them explore a little bit at a time. This is especially important for cats, because cats will get really scared. Skittish dogs will too, but cats have a tendency to do that. Now, you can relocate their stuff, have it in the safe room when you first get there, and then you can relocate their food dish and the litter box. I would suggest doing it gradually, especially for a cat. A lot of cats, you can't just up and move their litter box. They won't pee in it. It's too upsetting for them. You really have to understand how sensitive cats generally are. So with a cat, you got to move their food dish and their litter box a little bit at a time, but it doesn't have to take forever, and it will eventually wind up in whatever permanent location you want this stuff to be in, okay? Number 6, don't forget to pet-proof your new home. Make sure electrical cords are tucked away. Plug up any small openings where your pet could get stuck or escape, especially in the basement. Make sure that all your windows are secure and that they have screens that don't have holes in them. Make sure that the last owner hasn't left poisonous traps like ant traps or mouse traps or decon in any of the cupboards or on the, on the floor of the kitchen or whatever, because those are toxic for your pets. Okay, so take a look around, make sure that things are okay for your pets in the new house. Now, I'm going to tell you another little story that I think is very, very important, again, to illustrate like how important this is. I say in my article, I've moved about 1 million times in my life, both as a kid and as an adult. Obviously, that is an exaggeration, but I have moved a lot. When I was a kid, I went to 5 different schools. I've moved several times. I've owned several houses since I've been an adult. I've moved a lot. And not because of bad situations. It's just I get a better house. I move from an apartment. I buy a house. All these sorts of things. Well, since I've had pets since I was a child, I've always had pets. So you can imagine I've moved with pets many times, and I've seen what can happen, what kind of occurrences, what kind of reactions there have been from pets. So I do have quite a bit of experience with this. Now, I had 2 cats for several years. One of them is here in this picture. If you've been here before for my cat videos, I'm sure you've seen her. Her and her brother, I had them both for several years. Well, they had moved with me, several times. They lived with me for years. So I had to be safe with them. Obviously, I had to get their carriers out. I had to, transport them in the carrier. I had to make sure they had their food and stuff when I got to the new house. I had to do all that stuff. But once we got to the new house, they really didn't care. They were excited. I remember a very large house that I moved into, and only she was alive at this time. Her brother had passed away by then. But I remember she came out of the crate. She was in the basement. Like, she was in every corner. She was in every closet. She was excitedly exploring the new house. But this was an older cat. She had lots of experience moving. Well, it happens to be in that same house where my second cat, not her brother, but a different cat, had a very different experience. I'm going to tell you about it, but I just wanted to point out that this cat in the picture, she lived for 20 years. I had her for 20 years. She was beautiful. Well, this little black cat, Abigail, I named her Miss Abigail. I was totally foolish when I did that move. By this time, I had these cats several years. Nobody was afraid of moving. I foolishly didn't give it as much thought as I should have. And I got Abigail when I lived in a 2-bedroom, kind of a small apartment. And so the first year or so of Abigail's life, that was her world. She had never been any place bigger. I brought her home at like 6 weeks old, and I put her in the carrier and I brought her to the new house and I opened the carrier just like I did for the other cat. And she absolutely panicked. She shot out of the carrier. She ran across the living room, peeing the whole way, ran under the couch and stayed there for 48 hours, drenched in her own pee. I tried to coax her out. She would not come out. She was absolutely terrified. And then after the 48 hours, I finally had to resort to physically moving her out, pulling her out from under the couch. And I tried to hold on to her and comfort her. She leaped out of my arms. She went flying into the kitchen, went down in the basement because stupid me, I hadn't secured the house. The basement door was open. She ran down in the basement. It took over an hour to find her. You can imagine if you're a cat lover, the whole time I'm sobbing. I'm sobbing. I cannot believe that this poor cat, I just couldn't believe it. I was crying and crying. And then eventually we found her, and she had actually, it's hard to explain. She had crawled into the wall. The basement was paneled, and she had found her way in and got behind the paneling. And I happened to see her tail. And I said, there she is. Well, my boyfriend was there at the time helping me move, and he had to actually cut that paneling to get her out. Now, luckily, once we did that and I got her in my arms again, I just walked off with her, and I held onto her tightly, and I just went to a room and I just sat with her, just the two of us, and she did calm down. And then eventually she was okay in that house. But I'll never forget poor little Miss Abigail, and me not realizing what a big deal this was for her. If you've been here before, you've seen my cat Whiskers. He's about 1.5 years old right now. And I happen to be looking for a new house to buy. I would like to move. I would like to buy a different house. And so, I'm very aware, I got Whiskers while I was here. This is a fairly small apartment. It's not very big. So, this has been his whole life. So at least I know from experience to, be more careful about his feelings, when I move. So it really is important. Another tip that I can offer is, again, the million times that I've moved, if I can get the key ahead of time, like before the day that the movers are coming or that I've got all my friends and family coming to help me move, if I can get the key ahead of time, which is usually the case, you can usually get the key a day or two ahead of time, I will go over to the new place, and I always fill my car with my breakables, things that I don't want to just let the movers handle, like my lamps, my pretty wall pictures, certain knickknacks. I have a favorite cookie jar that I've had for 100 years. I transport those things myself in my cars to make sure that they get to the new place safely, and I don't have to worry about the movers breaking them or anything. And if I have a lot of time, then I'll actually go over to the new house. I'll clean out the kitchen cupboards. I'll clean the bathroom, clean the floor, do some stuff in preparation for the move. So if you can do that. If you have a dog, take the dog with you. Take the dog with you when you do that. Put him in the car, let him go over there, put him on a leash, let him out in their new backyard. And they might as well ride with you. If they're okay with riding in the car, which, most dogs can at least manage to ride in the car safely. And they can kind of hang out with you there a little bit at the new house. And keep in mind, keep them on their leash because they are in a new environment. They might get freaked, so make sure that they're safe, but it might be a good idea to take the dog with you. This isn't really advice for a cat because you don't want to be transporting the cat back and forth, just preparing your cat, getting them used to their carrier, and then transporting them in their carrier to the new house once is enough generally for cats. But if you have a dog that's fairly good at riding in the car, you might want to go ahead and, take the dog with you a few times. Let them check out the new place. Again, the most important thing is to keep your pets safe on moving day. Don't lose your pet. Don't have the excitement of moving into a new house, but you're also in grief because the cat or the dog ran out the door, got lost. You may never see them again, especially since you're moving out of the neighborhood. If they get hit by a car, they may jump out of the car. If you've got never try to take a cat in the car without a carrier. Do you know what I mean? They can jump out, they can run away. So I don't want to scare you, but I do want to scare you because think about it. What would it be like if your pet got lost or injured or killed on moving day? It's really important that we watch out for them, right? Now, I've got some more information here for you, but stick with me. I think you're going to be glad to have all this information that I'm going to give you. If you happen to be moving pets long distance, like to another state, I have never done that. I've never moved internationally. I personally have never flown with a pet, but I did find out in researching for this article that there's such a thing called a pet transportation service, and they're professional services that will transport your pet for you and do it safely if you're going like to another state and you can't, do it yourself. I'll give you the website. It's thesprucepets.com. They've got a great article about that. I'm also going to give you two of my own articles. They both include a video about how to travel with pets. I'll give you one for how to travel with a cat and tips for traveling with dogs. They both have a video, and the videos are on this YouTube channel, and they are more step-by-step instructions on traveling with your pets. So you may want to just go ahead and watch those videos because the tips in there are going to be helpful with the move as well. But especially if you're moving a long distance with your pet, please go ahead and watch those videos and get that information as well, because now you got to think in terms of, do they have their paperwork? Do they have their shot record? If you're traveling even from one state to the other, there may be certain requirements in states. If you're crossing the border from the US to Canada, you're going to need the shot record. So those two articles about traveling with pets get a little bit more into that kind of detail. I would like to ask you, how far are you moving? How many pets do you have? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? Do you have both? Do you have small children at the same time? Is this your first time moving with pets? Are you moving, within your own neighborhood? Are you leaving the state? I would really be curious, and maybe tell me what your concerns are. And also feel free to share in the comments section if you have any tips that have made moving with pets easier for you. I would appreciate it if you would do that, because everybody can kind of help each other in the comment section. Now, lastly, before we go, if you have been here before, you know that I donate to animal charities. I do peoplelovinganimals.com as my job, and I donate 10% of my earnings from the website and also from this YouTube channel to animal charities. And if you go to the homepage of my website, peoplelovinganimals.com, you will see a list of the animal charities that I donate to. So we didn't go on too terribly long. I think we're at about 20 minutes or so. So thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. I really appreciate it. I hope that the video was helpful. Please go ahead, go down in the description box, look at the other resources and videos that I have for you. And I would love it if you would please like the video, subscribe if you're not already, share the channel with your friends and family who have a cat or a dog, and go ahead and comment with your feedback or questions or tips for other viewers. Again, thank you so much. My name is Deborah, and my website is peoplelovinganimals.com. Thanks again. Bye-bye.